Okay, so get ready because we are going deep into the world of uh, Pet Care GPT.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
we're always talking about AI and how it's changing everything. And
Right.
this is a great example of that because this is AI that's targeted towards helping you take care of your pets.
Exactly.
So I'm really excited to dive into this.
Yeah, me too.
And maybe we can start by just each giving a little introduction to ourselves.
Sure.
So we'll start. I'm the host of the show, and I've got a dog and two cats. So I'm really interested to see how this technology could maybe help me out.
Yeah, sounds great.
How about you?
Yeah, so I'm a veterinarian and I've been practicing for about 10 years now.
Wow.
And I'm really interested in this whole world of technology and how it can kind of change the way we approach pet care.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited to see like where this pet care GPT thing is going.
Yeah, and you know what I think is so interesting about this is it's like you said, it's not just like a new gadget or anything like that. This is like a whole new way of thinking about how we can care for our pets using technology.
Exactly. And it's like really tapping into this desire that people have for this personalized information.
Right.
Like they don't just want general pet care advice. They want advice that's specific to their pet.
Yeah, like my cat Mittens does this weird thing with her tail. Is that normal? And
Exactly.
you know what I love about this deep dive is we've got all these different sources to pull from.
Yeah.
We've got articles from tech journals, we've got opinions from veterinarians, we've even got like firsthand accounts from pet owners who are already using like early versions of this technology.
That's cool.
So we're really going to get like a 360 view of this whole pet care GPT thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And, our mission here is to really unpack this for our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is this pet care GPT thing?
Right.
How does it actually work? What can it really do for pet owners? And, are there any downsides?
Yeah. Are there any things we should be cautious about?
Exactly. And I think the best way to kick things off is to talk about like a real life scenario.
Okay.
So imagine this. It's like 3 in the morning.
Oh,
Your cat is like hacking up a hairball,
classic.
which, is just another Tuesday for him.
Of course.
But you're like freaking out. You're like, oh my God, is this normal?
Should I go to the emergency vet?
Exactly.
Right.
And instead of like scrolling through WebMD for cats at 3 in the morning, you can just like talk to Pet Care GPT.
Right.
And it can be like, okay, based on everything you've told me about your cat, this is probably fine. But if it keeps happening, then maybe give your vet a call.
Exactly. And it can give you that like peace of mind in the moment,
Exactly.
which I think is so valuable.
Right. Because as pet owners, we all know that feeling of like, oh my gosh, is this normal or should I be worried?
Absolutely. And, the sources we have really highlight how Pet Care GPT goes beyond just like the generic advice you find online.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, cats cough up hairballs. It's like taking into account your cat's specific breed,
Yeah.
their age, any health conditions they might have.
Yeah, like my cat's name is Whiskers. He's a 5-year-old Persian and he has a history of hairballs.
Exactly.
And then it can give you advice that's like tailored to Whiskers.
Exactly. It's like having a custom care plan for your pet.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not just for like those kind of like emergency situations either.
Right.
The sources talk about how Pet Care GPT can help with things like training.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to train a new puppy,
Right.
or if you have an anxious cat and you're not sure like what kind of resources to look for.
Yeah. Or even just like helping you figure out the best diet for your pet.
Yeah.
Based on their specific needs.
Big
There's so many different ways that this technology could be used.
It's really incredible, and I think it just kind of shows how technology is really changing the way we interact with our pets.
Absolutely.
It's an exciting time to be a pet owner.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, it really makes you think like, wow, is this going to change things for like vets and trainers and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, will we even need them anymore?
Right. Well, that's the big question.
Yeah.
And some of the sources actually talked about that, and it seems like the general consensus is that this technology, it's not really meant to replace vets and trainers.
Oh.
It's more about like giving them like a helping hand,
Right, like taking some of the load off.
Exactly. Like imagine if a vet could use this Pet Care GPT to like handle some of the more routine stuff.
Right.
Like follow-up appointments or like giving basic care instructions.
Yeah, or even just like answering those common questions that pet owners always have.
Right, exactly. Then that frees up the vet to really focus on the more like complex cases.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And it could be really helpful for trainers too.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, like imagine if a trainer could use this technology to like create personalized training plans for their clients.
Oh, that's cool.
Right, so instead of having to like start from scratch with every dog, they can just like input some information about the dog's breed, age, personality, and then boom.
You have a tailored training plan?
Exactly. It's like
Okay.
having a digital assistant.
That's awesome. Okay, so we've talked about like what Pet Care GPT is and some of the potential benefits, but like how does it actually work?
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Right, because it sounds kind of magical.
It does a little bit.
Like I just tell it about my cat and it knows exactly what to do.
Well, it's not quite magic, but it is pretty clever.
Okay.
So basically, it uses this thing called natural language processing,
Okay.
which is a fancy way of saying that it can understand human language.
Oh, so I can just like talk to it like a real person?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's so much easier than trying to like type in the perfect keywords into Google.
I know, right? No
Okay.
more like trying to figure out the exact way to phrase your question.
Exactly.
Just be like, hey, Pet Care GPT, why is my dog eating grass?
And it'll just know what you mean?
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Okay, but how does it actually come up with the answers?
Right, so it has this huge database of information about pets.
Okay.
Like everything from like breed-specific information to like common health problems to like training tips.
Wow.
And when you ask it a question, it basically scans through all that information to find the most relevant answer.
That's crazy.
And the really cool part is that it can also personalize the information based on your pet's specific details.
So it's not just giving me like generic advice about dogs in general.
Right, it's like, here's what to do for your 5-year-old golden retriever who loves to eat socks.
That's incredible. Okay, so it's like having a personalized pet encyclopedia.
Kind of, yeah, but it's even more than that.
Oh, how so?
Well, some of the sources mention that Pet Care GPT can actually create customized training plans.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, so like say you're trying to teach your dog to stop barking at the mailman.
Okay.
You can tell Pet Care GPT all about your dog's barking habits, and it'll create a training plan that's specifically designed for your dog.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's like having a personal dog trainer on demand.
Okay, but now I have to ask the question that I'm sure everyone's thinking.
Let's hear it.
Can this Pet Care GPT actually replace my vet?
That's a good question.
Right, because it sounds like it can do a lot.
It can, and honestly, I think it has the potential to revolutionize the way we approach pet care.
Okay.
But I think it's important to remember that it's still just a tool.
Right.
It's not a substitute for the expertise of a trained professional.
So you're saying I shouldn't cancel all my vet appointments just yet?
Probably not, no.
Okay. That's good to know.
But I do think it can be a really valuable resource for pet owners.
Yeah, like, how so?
Well, for one thing, it can provide you with, like, peace of mind in those moments when you're not sure what to do.
Right, like if it's 3 in the morning and your cat is doing that hairball thing again.
Exactly. Instead of, like, panicking and scrolling through Google, you can just ask Pet Care GPT.
And hopefully it'll tell me everything is fine.
Right, and if it's not fine, it can at least point you in the right direction.
That makes sense.
And another benefit is that it can help you to be more proactive about your pet's health.
Oh, how so?
Well, because it has all this information about different breeds and health conditions, it can like alert you to potential problems that you might not even be aware of.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like for example, it might tell you that your dog's breed is prone to certain types of cancer.
Okay.
And then it can give you advice on like what to watch out for and how to reduce your dog's risk.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I think it has the potential to be a really powerful tool for preventative care.
It sounds like it's like having a personal pet health advisor.
Exactly. And, you know, one thing that I think is really important to emphasize is that this technology, it's not meant to replace the relationship between a pet owner and their vet.
Right.
It's more about like enhancing that relationship.
How so?
Well, because if you're more informed about your pet's health, you're going to be better equipped to have like meaningful conversations with your vet.
That's a good point. Right? So instead of just like going to the vet when something's wrong, you can actually go in and be like, hey, I've been noticing this about my dog. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So I think it has the potential to really empower pet owners.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like Pet Care GPT could be a really valuable tool for both pet owners and professionals.
Absolutely.
But like with any new technology, I'm sure there are some potential downsides.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So let's maybe talk about those next. Yeah, because like with anything new, especially technology, there's always got to be like a flip side, right?
Right, exactly.
So like what are some of the things that people should be kind of cautious about or at least aware of when it comes to this whole Pet Care GPT thing?
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest things is just making sure that the information that Pet Care GPT is giving you is accurate.
Oh, yeah, because, like, a chatbot that's giving out bad medical advice.
Right, exactly.
Not good.
Not good at all. And I mean, it kind of comes down to like, where is this information coming from?
Right. Like, is it based on, like, actual scientific research, or is it just, like, random stuff that people have put on the internet?
Yeah, because there's a lot of that out
There's
there.
a lot of misinformation, yeah.
So how can we know that like the information that's being fed to this Pet Care GPT is like legit?
Right. Well, I think that's where it's really important to look at, like, who's creating this technology?
Okay.
Like, are they partnering with, like, reputable organizations like veterinary associations or animal behaviorists?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, like, are there actual experts involved in, like, curating the information?
That makes a lot of sense.
Because, if it's just, like, some random tech company that's like, we're going to make a pet AI,
Yeah.
I'd be a little bit wary.
Yeah, I would too.
But if it's like a company that's, like, really partnering with experts in the field,
Hmm.
then I think that gives it a lot more credibility.
Right. And I imagine like the more people who use it, the better it'll get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's all based on, like,
Mm.
algorithms and
Yeah.
machine learning and stuff.
Right.
So the more data it has to work with, the more accurate it's going to become.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've got to be careful about the information, but what about like privacy?
Oh, yeah, that's another big one,
Because I'm putting in all this information about my pet.
right? Like their breed, their age, their health history.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a lot of sensitive information,
It is. And like, what are these companies doing with that data?
right? Are they selling it to, like, advertisers?
Oh gosh, I hope not.
Yeah? I mean, you never know.
That's a little scary.
It is, and I think that's why it's really important to, like, read the terms and conditions.
Oh yeah, nobody does that.
I know, but we should,
We should.
because that's how you find out, like, what they're actually doing with your data.
That's a good point.
And, if a company is not being transparent about that,
Yeah.
that's a red flag.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of accurate information and data privacy, but are there any other like ethical considerations that we should be thinking about?
That's a good question.
Like, is it possible for a pet AI to be like too good?
What do you mean?
Like, what if it becomes so good at diagnosing problems and giving advice that people just like stop going to the vet altogether?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Because like I love my vet.
Me too.
And I would hate to think that like technology could replace that relationship.
Right. And, there's also the potential for, like, over-reliance on technology. What if people start to see Pet Care GPT as, like, a substitute for their own instincts and judgment?
Oh, interesting.
Like, they're so used to just, like, asking the AI for advice that they forget to, like, actually observe their pet and, like, trust their gut.
That's a really good point.
Because at the end of the day, like, pet owners know their pets best.
They do.
And technology should be used to, like, complement that knowledge, not replace it.
I totally agree with that. Well, I think this has been like a really fascinating conversation.
Yeah, it has.
And I feel like we've just scratched the surface of this whole Pet Care GPT thing.
Definitely, there's so much more to explore.
There is, but I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
I hope so.
And hopefully they're as excited about the future of pet care as we are.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap things up, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today.
It was my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for taking this deep dive with us.
And keep those questions coming.
Yes, and if you're interested in learning more about Pet Care GPT or any of the other topics we discussed today, be sure to check out the show notes for links and resources.
And let us know what you think.
Yes, we want to hear from you. Would you trust a pet AI? Tell us in the comments.
Until next time.